In all honesty, can you, the viewer, type in the comments right now, what does generational quarterback mean? Because we get lost in the description of what a franchise quarterback is. We get lost in the description of a boomer bust. What defines a bust when we come to the NFL draft, regardless of the position? And then I almost want to present this question of generational because it has been a growing debate, at least when we talk about the recent weekend. We're talking about the AFC side of things when you had Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, these four monsters of quarterbacks in the AFC. And then if you flip to the NFC, it's less known to be these generational talents. But I want to ask one thing because I'm going to make the title of this video a little controversial because I truly do believe, and I've made 3 to 4 scripts for this video because my opinion has slightly changed, or I've thought of a different perspective that has kind of altered what my opinion has been. But the one thing that has held true in the standard that I still believe in moving forward, that I'm willing to argue for, is there is one generational quarterback in the NFL right now. And if you get angry by that statement, I want to know why. I want to know what makes not Patrick Mahomes the only quarterback that's generational. And I'm going to give you the set of rules and why I believe this and why I don't think that certain quarterbacks are seen as these generational guys because sure they are uber talented, but they haven't been able to put it on the field. Or maybe they've been able to perform on the field, but they don't have this crazy amount of talent. And I'm not trying to discredit the other guys. I'm not trying to do that because the other guys that we're about to talk about are top 10, top 5, top 3 guys in the NFL at their position, at the most important position in all of football. So this is not trying to discredit anybody else. If anything, it's trying to present how incredible Patrick Mahomes is. And you may think that this is just like a Nick Wright level meat riding type of situation. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to try to almost add a new tier of what quarterbacks are because we have the franchise guys, but guys like Kirk Cousins shouldn't be in the same conversation as a guy like Josh Allen. And even though Josh Allen, as of the past 24 hours, has been slandered on the internet and has been discredited, and we were almost too much invested into what the Buffalo Bills could be, and they're going to get their whole video after the disaster class that they had against the Bengals. I've already made a TikTok about it if you want to go check that out, but we have to take a breather when it comes to this a surplus of NFL talent at the QB position. Because for years we had been acclimated and grown accustomed to, especially at people at my age. I'm 21 years of age, so I've been able to see the primes of Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, these guys that have cement for feet, but who are these master class of quarterbacks. And then it has grown and developed to this dual threat, but they're not really relying on the run like we have seen in previous years. They're able to use their legs, but they also can throw the ball 70 yards and be able to beat the speed that has grown in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. It's been really fun to watch. But when we talk about generational quarterbacks, at least the definition that I can try to present is something that we haven't seen before, something that is once in a decade, something that is such an anomaly from the rest, something that has truly changed the game. I think of like Steph Curry as a generational talent and player. I think of LeBron James. I think of Michael Jordan. And then the question becomes, well, do you think Kobe Bryant is a generational player? And I'm not here to debate that because I honestly can't even think to form an opinion on what a generational player is in the NBA because of how difficult it is to define it. It's almost gotten to a point where I just want to say you know it when you see it. And I look at this and I asked this group chat of guys I have, I'm not going to sit here and expose the group chat, but I asked around and I said, what do you see as a generational quarterback in the NFL? How many of them are there? And name the names, please, because I wanted to see how many of these guys out of the 32 starting quarterbacks do we see as this generational guy. And I want to really emphasize the generational part of it just because that is such a big term. You are the top 1% of your entire decade, of your entire era, of what we're going to look back into in 10, 15 years, what this 2020s era is going to look like. Are these guys still going to be seen as this? And I understand this is too early to really have this conversation, and I've prefaced this before we even talked about the quarterbacks I'm about to mention, but we'll start it off with Josh Allen, the guy that is seen And we're going to compare to Patrick Mahomes because I don't think there's any debate that Patrick Mahomes is not generational. After losing Tyreek Hill, he is still this incredible player. After having one leg, still beating the Jaguars. This dude is the anomaly. He can move. He can throw at any arm angle. There's nothing that Patrick Mahomes cannot do on the football field, and he is top 5 all time, in my opinion. And I understand that he doesn't have the longevity of some of these guys, but I still think he is a top 5 quarterback of all time, and I'm willing to debate that. And it's easier to say that Josh Allen after last weekend is not as generational, and he has a cannon of an arm. He's a massive body. He's been able to develop. But the thing is I don't know if he has been able to put it all together he hasn't even been past the AFC Championship game. He hasn't even been to it. Let me clarify. I thought that Chiefs one last year was the AFC Championship, but it wasn't. The Bengals got through. He hasn't been able to put it all together on the field. You can be this franchise-altering player. That's the term that I want to use for these other guys. You could change the aspect at its core for these franchises. And I think that we have had a bump in those guys being able to put it all together on the field and change the course of a franchise. I understand that might be the definition of what you have as a franchise guy. I would almost say that those are two different things, just because a franchise guy is, I think, someone that you can win with on the course of what a franchise is. Like for example, Kirk Cousins. I think that if Kirk Cousins stays on the Vikings, you could still win games. They obviously, I believe, went 13-4 this year. They lost in the wild card round. You could win with this guy. Franchise-altering guys, you can win because of these guys. Like Joe Burrow, like Josh Allen, like Justin Herbert, like Trevor Lawrence. These are the guys that, no matter the situation around them, you could still produce on the football field. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, I think, takes that definition a step above. No matter the situation, if you lose mega talents, if the defense is failing, if you're down 24-zip in a playoff game, you still have a chance because of how much better they are. Because Patrick Mahomes has been to 2 Super Bowls. He's about to win 2 MVPs. He's been able to do everything those other guys have been able to do, but take it a step above and show the accolades to prove how good of a quarterback is. He's the consensus number 1 guy. He is in his tier of his own. So why shouldn't he get the label that defines what that tier is? And in my opinion, that's generational. I think that Joe Burrow is the closest guy that we can get to. And I understand Trevor Lawrence has gotten this a little bit more hype as he has been announced to be this generational talent. And I'll let G-Baby explain what he believes that generational means.
Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent.
And if you didn't know, that's from Player's Choice Gridiron. It's just a funny clip in my opinion. But I think that, yes, you could be this talented guy. I think Russell Westbrook could arguably be, at his peak, a generational talent. But to be a generational player, and I think that if you played a game where every single time I say the damn word generational, you would be drunk right now. I think that when we look at this, you have to define the tier that Mahomes is in compared to these other guys. I'm not going to sit here and read off stats and read off these things to discredit the other guys. I'm more trying to define this gray area of the one. Because for a period of time last year, because of how good Josh Allen played in that last fourth quarter, and has blurred the lines of what our expectations for the Buffalo Bills has been, the lines have been blurred so much that people really did say and go on podcasts and go on TV shows and say, listen, I almost would pick Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. And then we go into this offseason and they lose Tyreek Hill. And you're really curious on, can the Chiefs bounce back? And if anything, they're more dangerous than ever with the amount of weapons that he is surrounded by. And Patrick Mahomes has that innate ability to elevate the weapons around him. I think that he has that Tom Brady ability, which is another conversation of itself, is does Tom Brady elevate the weapons around him? I think that's been lost over the past couple of years, especially with his Buccaneers stint. He was always able to do that with the New England Patriots. And I think Patrick Mahomes has that ability to elevate the surrounding environment that he has. Not to say he had a bad one. Obviously, you still have one of the best tight ends of all time in Travis Kelce. You have Andy Reid, who's willing to do anything on the football field, do ring around the rosy. You have Eric Bieniemy, a fantastic offensive coordinator that has been able to stay there from year in and year out, no matter how many head coaching opportunities that he's been getting. He has a good situation. This is not to say he has a bad one, but great players who elevate great positions to all-time great situations, that is what makes them special. And I think that's what Patrick Mahomes is. I think Patrick has been able to become this generational player that we will never see again, in my opinion, or potentially not to the same level. I mean, to be top 5 all time, in my opinion, and it's still a conversation. I don't think it's clear to everybody because some people like the counting stats that you have out after a 19-year career, but we have never seen anything like this. And because he's such an anomaly to everyone else, sure, Justin Herbert has a cannon of an arm and is breaking records like we have never seen before. Joe Burrow turning around a Bengals franchise to potentially make to 2 Super Bowls is something we have never seen before. Sure, Josh Allen has some of the most insane intangibles that we have ever seen. But yes, he is turnover prone, and the Bills have not been able to put it together on the field. And Trevor Lawrence to turn around from having Urban Meyer as his head coach and be able to build a sustainable franchise that made the playoffs this year is something that is truly remarkable. We've seen it before, but not. It's still crazy to watch, and he's proving us right. The Prince, the golden hair, all this stuff. But the thing is, it is not to the level of what Patrick Mahomes has put on the football field, and that is why not everyone can be generational. I saw this on Twitter, and it stemmed into this video, and what I truly have been trying to preach, that not everyone can be generational. You could be franchise altering, which is not a knock. This is, by no means, you are still in the top 5% of the NFL. But and I think we got to change the term of what franchise quarterback means, because that line can be blurred. But in reality, in my opinion, there's only one generational quarterback. It's the guy that just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars on one leg. And if you're at this point in the video, I know this was all over the place. This was more of trying to build a discussion and present a narrative that I'm willing to push. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is one of my longer videos. And if you're at this point in the video, please consider subscribing. I'm preparing to do a lot of content over the next couple weeks. It's just school starting. This is my last semester, so I want to start the semester off right, and I want you to start the semester off right. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.